take a seat so that we can start. So good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the conference Cooperation in Space, Italy and Switzerland, Present and Future. My name is Marta Meli. I'm a SkyTG24 journalist, and in the last 10 years, I've been dealing with space topics. I'm very honored to be here at the Pop House of Switzerland as a moderator of this event, and I'm particularly grateful for this invitation to the ambassador of Switzerland to Italy, Monika Schmutz-Kirgütz, and I hope my pronunciation is quite good, not so bad. And I invite her to address to the public, to the audience following here in presence and connected on live stream, a welcome message. Please, Ambassador.
Thank you. Dear President Sakoccia and Director Krpun, I also hope that this pronunciation was correct. I mean, Kyrgyz is, voila. And he is a fellow Swiss, so, but yeah, okay. Dear Rector Flückiger and Rector Cupertino, dear CEO Gregorio and CEO Rucci Grond, dear moderator Marta Meli, dear guests of Casa degli Artisti, House of Switzerland, and dear online participants, I give you a very, very warm welcome in this unusual space. You see it's pink, it's young, it's future-oriented, it's exactly what we want to do. We want to break with stereotypes. Because in the collective imagination, Switzerland is generally associated with bucolic landscapes and beautiful mountains. Of course, many people know that Switzerland is much more than this. We provide the global market with quality products inspired by both tradition and innovation in the mechanical, electromechanical, chemical, and pharmaceutical industries, to name a few. However, what is much less well known to the general public is that Switzerland hosts a pioneering industry in terms of technological innovation. Our commitment in the space sector is a clear testimony of this. Those who are not directly involved in the space industry may be pleasantly surprised to discover that Switzerland has been deeply involved from the very beginning in the European space research sector. Let me briefly go through some key dates. In 1960, Switzerland was one of the founders of the European Space Research Organization and has ever since played a major role in this sector. The universities of Bern and Geneva, as well as the Lausanne and Zurich Polytechnics, are very active and respected actors in the space research sector. Switzerland is also one of the 10 founders of the European Space Agency, ESA, which was created in 1975, exactly 15 years after the foundation of the European Space Research Organization. In ESA's 47 years of operation, Switzerland has always played a major role as an active and reliable partner, firmly convinced of the importance for Europe of having an independent and competitive space program. In 2012, Switzerland had the honor of taking over the presidency of the ESA together with the Grand Duchy of Luxembourg. During these 4 years of an intensive work, in collaboration with the Swiss Space Office, ESA's role in the international arena was further developed and consolidated. For the purpose of today's conference, which focuses on present and future opportunities for collaboration in the space sector, allow me to briefly recall the principles of Switzerland's commitment in this industry. Such principles inspire our research and our space industry operations. Our policy in the space sector aims at, first, improving the quality of life of the population through the development and use of space applications. Secondly, increasing Switzerland's competitiveness in the space sector. And last but not least, thirdly, reaffirming our long-term commitment to research with the aim of encouraging innovation and supporting the scientific community. There is another principle guiding Switzerland's research and operations in this sector. The principle is of key importance today more than ever, promoting a safe, sustainable, and above all, peaceful use of the space. Our hope is that this guiding principle is regarded by every stakeholder worldwide operating in the space industry as a solid point of reference in order to increase the well-being of populations and to foster the spirit of friendship among nations. In many sectors, including the space industry, Italy is and has always been a trusted partner of Switzerland. Our two countries share policies and strategies for the future development of space research, in particular within ESA. We appreciate the excellence of Italian space research, and we have the privilege of having a large number of highly qualified Italian researchers in Swiss universities. We have a solid collaboration with Italy, both bilaterally and multilaterally, including CERN and the Gran Sasso National Laboratories. Allow me to also point out the importance of Switzerland's association with the Horizon Europe program, not only for our country and for the researchers working there, but also for Europe. I strongly support the aspiration of many researchers in Europe to foster the political will in order to create the opportunity of joining forces again. I will be listening with great interest to the interventions of our speakers, and I thank you all for being with us today. Finally, I would like to express my appreciation to the moderator of this event, Marta Meli, who has been at the forefront of the dissemination of scientific knowledge for many years. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's
Thanks, Ambassador.
Women power. Thank you so much. Let's enjoy the conference together. Merci.
Thanks. Thank you very much, Ambassador. As you have just said at the line, space activities are very important for Switzerland, Italy, and in our society. A week ago, our Italian and European astronaut Samantha Cristoforetti left for the International Space Station. The name she chose for her second mission in orbit is Minerva, goddess of wisdom and protector of artisans, a tribute to all women and men that made their space travel possible. All our speakers today, each one in her or his personal way, are artisans of space, contributing every day to the evolution of space sector and to make future possible. That's why I'm so pleased to introduce them to you, starting from Mr. President Giorgio Sacoccia, President of the Italian Space Agency, and Renato Crpun, Director of the Swiss Space Office. Sorry, I take some time just because I wanted to be sure that my pronunciation was correct. That's why. So if you join me here on stage, we can start. You can come, both of you, yes. So we have a sort of discussion all together that I think is much better. So Director Prun, please, with your introduction. We are here to listen to you.
Yes, so yes, it works. Good morning or good afternoon, dear Ambassador, dear President, dear Giorgio, ladies and gentlemen. It's a distinct pleasure to be here in Milano after this difficult pandemic circumstances. I'm very happy to be able to see so many familiar faces in tonight's audience. When it comes to bilateral relationships, and we have heard it, Switzerland and Italy, we share a common border, but close linguistic, cultural and historical links, and so much more. Italy is Switzerland's fourth most important economic partner, and we are both founding members of ESA, as we just heard, and also of the European Space Research Organization before. We can look back to a long-standing cooperation in the space sector, and we will have some slides here in the background which shows you some of these joint achievements. Of course, I'm particularly proud that under the leadership of the Italian Space Agency, we are partners in the Vega C and Space Rider programs. And I wish to thank Giorgio for the vision of the Italian Space Agency and leadership of Italian industry and the academia in the European space programs. Beyond these flagship contributions, which are quite visible if you have seen a fairing before, or Space Rider, it's a big structure. There are many more that are less visible, and this is not a coincidence. The philosophy behind the Swiss space policy is to develop competitive and unique capabilities in the field of space to the benefit of the cooperation we have with our partners. Our policy recognizes that space is a domain where Switzerland has to cooperate on the international level. We thus foster a strong bottom-up approach which leads naturally to a high degree of specialization and complementary of competences with our Italian industrial and academic partners. And I'll go to the next slide. Here we have a very nice example also of the telescope of the Cheops satellite. But in the light of the recent geopolitical events, we must stand together and adopt an attitude of competitive autonomy for the European space sector. This means we have to step up further our innovation capabilities, and this is also the heart of this Swiss house here in Milano. This means the cooperation among the brightest and best individuals and organizations in Europe need to be fostered. Our industry and research is well placed today, and we have to be mindful not to lose the advantage we have today and miss out on promising areas. And we hear some of them tonight, I guess big data, quantum technologies, in-orbit servicing, and so on. And I look forward to these various exchanges we will have tonight between Italian and Swiss academic and industrial actors later on. Switzerland, as a non-EU country, has shown to be a reliable partner in Europe. European space programs, both in ESA and the European Union. This posture has created a win-win situation for Europe, and I'm thinking, for example, about the atomic clocks. I had the privilege to talk to the colleagues from Leonardo, which is our joint industrial contribution to Galileo. Switch another slide where we see Space Rider. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is of great concern to us that due to different political agendas at this stage, Switzerland is considered a non-associated third country in Horizon Europe. Therefore, Swiss academia and industry cannot fully participate in several parts of the newest generation of EU programs, be it in the space domain or research and innovation. We believe that this is not a satisfactory state and regard it as a lose-lose situation for everyone. In this context, I wish to thank our Italian partners for their support and inclusive attitude, which is essential to continue to excel in the future together. We want to continue to provide unique capabilities, remain complementary to our Italian partners, and contribute in a reliable, competitive and unique way to your systems. We are 6 months prior to the next ESA Council at ministerial level, and the event tonight represents an excellent opportunity to strengthen our relationship, and I thank you for an earlier discussion we had regarding that, and the exchange on possible future cooperation. We are willing to set the best possible framework conditions for the future. I think I have another slide, last one. Oh, that was the last one. Good. Now, let me close by thanking Marta Melli for preparing tonight's event. I would also like to thank Giorgio, which decided to come to Milano, which is very honoring for me. Then Ambassador Schmutz-Kirkers and her team, Ruth and Teresa, which helped preparing tonight's event, the speakers, and as well as Swiss House in Milano for hosting today's event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director Caprun. Now it's the turn of President Giorgio Saccoccia. What is the state of the art in Italy, And what do you think of present and future possible collaboration with Switzerland?
Thank you. Can you hear? Yes. Okay, good. Thank you, Marta. First of all, thanks to the ambassador for your presence and your kind words of introduction. Thanks to all the participants, the representative from Academy, and of course, thanks to Renato for thinking of the idea of this event and inviting me to be here. When we talk about space cooperation, and in particular at bilateral level among European countries, I like to think, actually instinctively, I think about the way we operate with Renato, for example, in the frame of the ESA Council or in every occasion. I mean, we have reciprocal support, reciprocal advising. We smile. We also do some irony, I have to say, or humor, which always helps. And this is the basis for to nurture ideas and opportunity for cooperation. And certainly among Switzerland and Italy, there have been plenty. I mean, there is plenty of experience in terms of cooperation in space. Renato went through some of interesting cases of recent projects where in some cases we have had Swiss leadership with important Italian contribution. See, for example, the case of Cheops. In other cases like Space Rider or Vega was the other way around, but the spirit was always the same. The idea of putting together experience, capacity, resources coming first of all from our industry in order to make possible projects that maybe separately would have been more difficult. And this is spirit of cooperation, which is at the very basis of space activities in general. And space is, nowadays space is really changing. Space activities are going through an important paradigm change. We, in particular for what concerns Europe, in order to be to remain competitive or to increase our competitiveness with respect to the rest of the world at large, we need really to be even more, to stand even more united, not just in a geographical term, but also in terms of involvement of the full ecosystem of space. That's why I'm very glad today to have here also a representative from the Academy, because the highest representative from Academy of the two countries, because to make sure that in the future European space is competitive and strong enough, we need to form our expert workforce of the future. We need to create opportunities for research, both theoretical and advanced, and make sure that this research, academic research, respond to the needs of industry in such a way that we can create a seamless process of formation, education, and then activities that is performed and carried out within industry. Of course, agencies have the privilege to try to facilitate this process, and that's why we are all here today. And I think Switzerland and Italy have a good tradition of favoring reciprocal support in such a way that future space products can be, as I said, competitive. A key for the future, in addition to cooperative project, personally I think will be innovative technology, innovative research and technologies. On those two specific fields, I think both countries have an important tradition, and we need to, in my opinion, make sure that we will provide through ESA, through possibly other bilateral form of cooperation, we will provide enough instruments to favor this technology innovation that we are very good at, because only in this way we can really have competitive product and building blocks in the future space activities. Last but not least, if you allow me, Renato, I would like to stress even more a concern you had talking about difficulties or the challenges that now Switzerland has because of the specific situation on the framework project of the European Union. The way I see it is that, I mean, your tradition in space activities, being a founding member of ESA, was never worried about your opportunity to contribute to the framework program of the European Union in terms of research in space. It's sad that today you have to suffer about change of situation that certainly you have not never wanted from the very beginning. Is the reason why, and I appreciate that you notice that, Italy, of course, is absolutely in support of facilitating your continuation with respect, as it was in the past, or contribution for what concerns R&D in space activities within also the European Union frame program. So we will do that, we'll continue to do that, and of course, in whatever occasion, including, of course, the ESA Council, whenever discussion takes place between ESA and EU, which always have delicate subjects, will continue to support you. You can count on that. So I really like the idea of this event today. It will be certainly a great opportunity for exchange among all the players in the two countries. You have and will have the support of the two institutional agencies in the space field. And of course, I thank Marta for your sympathy to the space, field and the way professionally you do your job in facilitating our discussion. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Thanks, President Saccoccia. I've got a couple of questions for you. We will start with President Saccoccia. The model of globalization on which the development of the last few years has been based was undermined, first by the pandemic and then by the war. What are the risks under the current scenario for the model of collaboration and space diplomacy, see for instance the International Space Station, on which the space sector was founded from a certain point on?
Well, as I mentioned already before during my speech, I think space by definition needs collaboration at international level, of course, European level, but also on a larger scale. It's a typical subject where individually countries, if they're lucky enough, like what happened in Italy or in other countries, we can have, in principle, the capability to develop full projects, but it costs much more effort than doing it in collaboration with other countries. So I think space is an excellent example, and I hope it's taken as an example also to look at the importance and the usefulness of international collaboration. You mentioned the International Space Station, the most visible, if I can say nowadays, international collaboration project which involve high-tech research, etc. I like to think that even in a dedicated moment like the one we are living nowadays, space station, and I'm glad about that, I can say it with pride in a way, activities on the space station are continuing without any disturbances. Someone was asking me yesterday when we had the first in-flight call with Samantha Cristoforetti and the other European astronaut of German nationality on the station today, Matthias Maurer. Someone was asking me, how do you think is going on the relation, the daily activities among the astronauts up there? You know, there are astronauts of different nationality, including Russians. I said, well, our astronauts, even when they are on ground, are special persons. I don't think they even conceive operating without cooperation with other countries, with other nationalities, with other cultures. Imagine up there when they are alone, everything has to work perfectly. So it would be nice if we get inspired by space activities, by space collaboration, also to look and seek for collaboration here on ground. And well, I don't know if I answer your
Yes.
question, but that's the spirit I think that is pushing us in our daily work. I'm sure that Renato will confirm that. Yeah.
Thank you, President Saccoccia. Director Krupun, you mentioned before space riders. Recently, European leaders confirmed their ambitions to work closely together to accelerate Europe's leading role in space. And European astronauts promote the idea of a self-standing access to space in a European spacecraft through a manifesto. How helpful do you think the partnership between Switzerland and Italy could be? And what are the most urgent tasks to get to this ambitious goal?
It's a very quite complex political question also.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, there is no doubt that Italy and Switzerland can contribute. I mean, Italy has a huge heritage when it comes to human spaceflight. We have been also contributing in the past through the ATV, for example, on structures and so on. So there's a lot of expertise. Now, the more tricky part is not what we can do, is more the political level. What is sensible, what makes sense to do in terms of European ambition. And of course, I guess every space agency director or space office director or Director Aschbach, they would dream of standing on the launch pad and seeing the European astronauts be launched on a European rocket and have this ambition. But of course, at the end, it comes to a question of what are the resources we have, the availability of resources, what are the priorities we have. We're in a quite tricky geopolitical situation. I think a couple of months ago, the situation was much more clear when we started and we went into the Matos News Manifesto, which was decided in Porto in the last fall. But we are let's say, in a good situation now that we took the ESA Council took the time to reflect together with ESA Director General, put in place a work group which is now reflecting on that question and also assessing what is the next step we should do. Should we go towards an autonomous access? Should we intensify our partnerships with partners like the US? Where should we go from here? So I think it's important to take the time. It's not a simple decision. It has a high political component, and we have to be sure that the way we decide is a way which we can sustain for several years and decades.
Thank you, Director Kaprun. Thank you, President Saccoccia. Thank you for your contribution to the discussion. I think we can move on to the next part of the panel. So I please take your seat, and I invite the next two speakers to join me here on stage, because I'm very pleased to introduce you Yves Flückiger, President of Swiss Universities and Rector of the University of Geneva, and Francesco Cupertino, Rector of the Polytechnic University of Bari and Delegate of the Conference of Italian University Rectors. President Saccoccia was speaking about ecosystem in space, and evolution in the field of space is impossible without synergies and collaboration. This is true both for research and industry. So let's start with the academia, and let's start with Professor Flückiger. Please, we are here to listen to your presentation.
Thank you, dear Ambassador, dear President, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues. Maybe there would be some slide, because when we are speaking about space, we need to dream a little bit. So this is a dream, and I'm going to talk about my speech a little bit. Yeah, the contribution of space is not only making some dreams for the society, but also it's more and more obvious that the contribution of space research is very important for our society. The space research is at the origin of many revolutions that have changed our daily lives, whether in the field of communication, transport, banking, and health. Space is also at the heart of major societal issues and many public policies. Today, if the satellites stopped working, our society will be completely paralyzed. For some years now, the space sector has been undergoing also a major transformation. Know-how and both scientific and industrial development. It is for the benefit of the science and a more sustainable and resilient society. Thanks to their competencies, our two countries, Italy and Switzerland, have a major role to play in this domain. At the University of Geneva, development of our space activity took off in the with the establishment of an operation of the World Data Center for ESA Integral mission. Afterwards, our space activity developed through many other missions, mainly in the field of astronomy, in different wavelengths and in the search of extrasolar planets. With this field of exoplanets, our universities has the extraordinary success since the discovery in 1995 of the first exoplanet by the two astronomers from the University of Geneva, Michel Mayer and Didier Queloz, who received the Nobel Prize in Physics in 2019. It was therefore natural that together with our colleagues from the University of Bern, we contributed to the CHEOPS space mission to characterize exoplanets, joint ESA and Swiss mission, with significant contribution from other countries, including Italy. Today, other collaboration of our astronomy department are underway with Italian partners on ESA missions such as Plato, a new exoplanet hunter, Euclid, designed to explore the evolution of the dark universe, or Athena, an X-ray space telescope. This space science must also develop better synergy between ground and space infrastructure in order to optimize the scientific return from space missions. In this context, the Swiss-Italian collaboration provides a good example to follow with the ARPS nose spectrograph, a high-precision radial velocity instrument for the discovery of exoplanets. This ground-based instrument was developed by our astronomy department in collaboration with the Italian National Institute for Astrophysics, and it is installed on the Telescopio Nazionale Galileo on the island of La Palma in the Canary Islands. It was designed in collaboration with NASA to support and optimize the NASA Kepler and TESS mission in their search for exoplanets. This project has also been fundamental in creating an extremely strong exoplanet community in Italy. It's a good example of Swiss-Italian collaboration, a good example of space-ground synergy, and perhaps an example to follow for other missions such as Plato. The international collaboration is essential today. The COVID crisis has shown the importance of international collaboration and the importance of science at the service of society. To face up to the global challenges, we have all an interest in working together as effectively as possible to manage the economic, social, and environmental challenges we face. In this respect, universities as center for research, reflection, dialogue, and exchange have a fundamental role to play. However, this international collaboration at global level is now threatened for Switzerland, as has been said by Renato, which as a non-European country has been relegated to a third country status with Horizon Europe program. Swiss academic circles are therefore very concerned about the situation because it puts in danger international collaboration on several research projects. For Europe as a whole, we have all interest in a united Europe behind science. With the dynamic of space, there is an acceleration in the pace of innovation, a broadening of entrepreneurial ecosystem, and the emergence of new players, which rely on disruptive methods and technologies. Typically, technology advances in the quantum field, which today shape our daily lives like space, and creating a new evolution that will have a profound impact on our information-based economic and society. They will obviously have their place in the new generation of space system, notably with quantum cryptography, new types of sensors. This is a field in which Switzerland again, and in particular the University of Geneva, has developed considerable expertise. For example, ID Quantic, the world leader in quantum cryptography, is a spin-off from the University of Geneva. With the University of Geneva, the Federal Institute of Technology in Lausanne and Zurich, and the Paul Scherrer Institute, we have a dynamic, cutting-edge research teams in Switzerland in the field of quantum communication, quantum sensing, quantum computing, and quantum materials, all ready to expand their field of activity. If space is a unique laboratory for fundamental and applied research, it has become an important tool also to shape our future on Earth and in Europe. Those universities have to make sure that their cutting-edge and innovative research reach the companies and organizations that need them so that the whole society can benefit fully of this innovation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Professor Flukiger, for this very interesting overview of the capabilities and opportunities offered by Swiss research. I would like to add the Italian situation and the Puglia district situation, because it's a very interesting case, Rector Cupertino.
Thank you. Good afternoon to everyone. Thank you, Marta. Thank you, the organizer, for this invitation, Ambassador, President Saccoccia, Director, and Rector. One of the most difficult parts is to name your surname, but I will, Rector Flukiger. It's a pleasure for me being here this afternoon. First of all, I bring you the greetings of Professor Ferruccio Resta, that is the president of the CRUI, the Conference of the Italian Rectors, and our conference was founded in 1963, and today it counts 84 Italian universities, both state and non-state universities. And if we put together all the Italian students in our university, we have about 1.8 million students and about 100,000 academic staff. I will come back later about these numbers. Personally, currently, I'm part of the board of the CRUI with the responsibility for the relations with the enterprises. When we talk about space, we all know that how strong is the influence of space activities in our daily life, activities such as telecommunication, agriculture, Earth observation, and geolocalization services. All these kind of activities, they all require many technological innovation. The data and the technologies that are generated by space-related research activities can anticipate and satisfy human needs with positive impacts on the economies of our countries. All these activities that create benefits and value for humans with the exploration of space research, understanding of space activities are usually referred in the definition of space economy. People use it to work in this field, are well aware of this from many years, but just according to me, only in the more recent years, universities have been really aware about the opportunity offered by the development of the space economy related activities. These possibility concern all the activities of universities, ranging from teaching, training, research, but also technological transfer. One of the evolution of the space economy and the related technology is the increase of multidisciplinarity. The growing sites of scientific activities in the aerospace field requires the achievement of important numbers, both numbers regarding the value of the investments needed to carry on with the activities, but also numbers regarding human resources. We need critical mass, put together a large number of people doing research in order to have a breakthrough capability. This number are perhaps not within the reach of a single university. Over the years, one of the strengths of the Italian university has been an average high quality of the individual university, with excellence distributed to grow our territory. Today's challenge is to find a way to link together such excellences so that together we can multiply the opportunities. Among the main topics of study which will characterize the aerospace sector in the coming years will be, they will be very diversified, ranging from satellites to suborbital flights to space exploration activities. These activities will require very diversified skills, and not only in the technological field, in order to be translated into development opportunities for our countries. In addition to the skills that are traditionally related to the aerospace sector, such as material science, propulsion systems, software and hardware for satellites. In addition to such field, there are a growing influence of disciplines also from the economic and legal sectors, just to make a couple of examples. The complexity and the size of the problems to be solved require to attract to the aerospace sector also those researchers, those universities and the research centers that are not traditionally within the field of aerospace. We have to enlarge the borders. I would say we have to eliminate the borders of the collaboration in the aerospace field. How we can act in order to attract funding sources and attract talents to our areas. First of all, we need the ability to network on the frontier issues, fostering extensive collaboration between researchers. Furthermore, I believe that we need to invest on large research infrastructures that are needed to be places that can focus on specific research areas, but also places that have great visibility in order to attract talents from all around the world. If we ask a question to the students of the university or to the researchers inside the university, going back to the numbers, 1.8 million students, 100,000 researchers, how many of them feel to work in the area of aerospace? Maybe a small percentage of them. But if we ask them how many of them have competencies that could be spent in our sectors, I would not say all of them, but most of them maybe could give a contribution. We have to attract them, and I think you can attract people in general with opportunities. We have to build up opportunities for them to move in Europe, in between our countries, to have opportunity to develop their activities, to collaborate among research centers and companies, space agencies, and also giving them the opportunity of building by themselves their opportunities, being entrepreneur in the field of aerospace. Going back to the question, in Apulia we have a district, very active district in the field of aerospace, and we also have one of the potential opportunities in terms of research infrastructure, that is the airport infrastructure in Grottaglie, which is the candidate to being the first Italian spaceport. We know that there is an ongoing study involving Italian and European Space Agency in order to write the documents that could allow the use of that infrastructure for the Space Rider program in order to land on the Grottaglie airport. I think that investing in such kind of infrastructure, not just for being the Apulian infrastructure, but for being the European infrastructure, the place where to collaborate among Italian entities, among Italian and Swiss entities, that could be a strategic path in order to increase opportunities for the futures of our countries.
Thank you. Thank you, Rector Cupertino. I wanted just to go back to Horizon Europe, Professor Flukiger, because in a recent interview you declared, without access to Horizon Europe, it becomes a real challenge to attract the brightest minds and maintain the high quality level of research in Switzerland. Why?
Because I think it has been mentioned before, people are going where there are the infrastructure to create the best research they can do. And also they are attracted because there are also many colleagues who are there and developing their own research. So if Switzerland is no more part of that field or that network, it will be very hard to continue to attract young people to come to Switzerland. Up to now, it's quite good. We have a good situation. We have good infrastructure, so we are still able to attract. But it goes very fast, and I'm very afraid that if we are not going to be part again of Southern Europe program, that we're going to lose step by step what we have been able to build in so many years. So we need, I mean, it's not only Switzerland will be weakened by this decision and that situation, but the whole Europe, because Europe needs Switzerland and Switzerland needs Europe. And I think the competition right now is not between Switzerland and Germany or other countries, it's between Europe, United States and China. Let's take the example of quantum physics, which is really a very important domain, and it's a domain which is important not only for research, top research, but also for the application in industrial activities. So in this domain, really we have a very good situation, and we need really to force on that situation. But I'm afraid that if we are not part of the quantum flagship, we're going to lose also the pace that we have been able to build. So it's not only important for top research, it's important for industries, it's important for the society. And as you see in quantum physics, there are so many developments that can be very, very helpful for the whole society. So it's also a lot of connection with space research. So yes, the situation is quite difficult now, and we know that our government is working very hard to be sure that Switzerland will be able, as soon as possible, to be again associated to the program Horizon Europe, but it's not so easy. And at the same time, we see that our government is making a lot of trips to UK, to the United States, to Japan, to South Africa, to Israel, to find other collaboration with other countries. So we need also to work on this bilateral cooperation, but the natural field is Europe for Switzerland. So it's where we have to put all the forces to be back to this program.
Thanks, Professor. Coming to Rector Cupertino, you said before that we have to eliminate borders. So how would you use innovation in the framework of cooperation with Switzerland? How could talents be put to use and shared?
Yes, I would take the opportunity to add something to what said the Rector Frukiger regarding the opportunity offered by cooperation. We need to enlarge the participation to the European programs. Of course, we need rules in order to participate, but we need to give the opportunity also to countries outside the European Union. Israel is one example that could be useful for both parts, improving that kind of cooperation. If we think about the Erasmus program was one of the most powerful tools to build up Europe. Because it helped people building up the awareness of being in Europe and the awareness of the potential of exchanging experience and what Europe could do for each single citizen. And I think is the same in research cooperation. As President Saccoccia mentioned, talking about the attitude of astronauts, they feel themselves to be in danger, then they need to cooperate in order to survive. To some extent, we are in danger as well, also on planet Earth, and we need to be conscious of the necessity of collaborating, putting together our efforts in order to protect our planet and giving the opportunity to continue our lifestyle and our development. And going back to the opportunities, I think that again there are already some many research activities that see involved Swiss institutions and Italian institutions. We could push again on that, starting from young people, starting from students, from PhD students, giving them the opportunity of spending their time in part in Swiss, in part in Italy, giving the opportunity of meeting with private companies that are one of the pieces of the puzzle we have to put together, and I think that's the way to start and to go ahead in order to translate in real advantage this kind of opportunity.
Professor Fulkiger, is there something you want to add to this?
Yes, maybe a good news, because we are not member of Erasmus Plus up to now. We are not part of Horizon Europe, but we have been able to participate to the European University Alliance. So we are 36 universities and applied universities in Switzerland, and 6 of them have decided to join one of these alliances. And I think it was a surprise also for our people who have put in place this program. So it's a sign also that we are really willing, maybe even more than before, to join this kind of initiative. So it's also related to the capacity to build some joint program, to have also the capacity for a student to move from one university to another, and just also to collaborate in terms of research. So at the beginning, there were a lot of critics regarding this alliance, but now, as I see, the mood is really going in another direction, and I think that a lot of universities right now would like to join also. So it's a good sign for all of us, hopefully.
And last questions for Rector Cupertino, because we were speaking about an autonomous space access for Europe. How much you think of an asset is your spaceport in this scenario?
Sure. Autonomous access to space is one of the key points for the next few years. The possibility of launching our own satellites, the possibility of working towards the reduction of cost. That is one of the other key points, and that means satellite constellation, constellation, but also small satellite, small technology in order, and economic ways of launching such devices. And in that sense, the possibility of using a spaceport, an horizontal takeoff area in order to do that kind of job could be an opportunity. The number of things you can do with a structure that can access the space are a number. Activities range from space tourism, for example, to the access to microgravity to do experiments, and then once you have such a kind of infrastructure, you can create an ecosystem, because there are a lot of services and technologies that are needed to do that kind of job, and you can build up around that also activities related to observation of satellites and small flying low orbit objects such as debris. That would be another of the issues of the next years, in case we go ahead with the intense use of orbits. And again, we have this opportunity in Italy. With the possibility of having a spaceport in Grottaglie. We were talking a few minutes before starting that the idea of putting a spaceport in Apulia was born in our universities a few years ago, thanks to a visit of General Vittori, that is another of Italian astronauts that had the first one having this idea of doing that kind of exercise, and then we are just close to the final goal. But we will not succeed alone. We have to put that objective as an objective of Europe, and in this, if we have a common support, if we find a way of localizing in such an infrastructure activities that could put together Italian and Swiss, for example, universities or companies which have interest in both countries. There are a number of important firms that are in the aerospace sector which have which are based both in the Apulia region, for example, and in Swiss. That would be a starting point in order to build up and create a more strong cooperation.
Thanks, Rector Cupertino. Thanks, Rector Flukinger, for your contribution. And I invite you to take your seat, because I would like to move on to the third part of our panel dedicated to space industry. And yes, thanks for your contribution. And I'm very glad to introduce you to Anna Gregorio, CEO and co-founder of Picosat's Delegate for Association of Italian Space Enterprises, and Elisabetta Ruggigron, CEO of Thales Alenia Space Switzerland, member of the Federal Commission of Space Affairs. Let me read you something. Space is today a domain to project global scale ambitions, and private commercial entities have become essential components of all partnerships, acquiring a strategic and sometimes competing role that once belonged only to public agency. This is an excerpt of the European Astronauts Manifesto that we mentioned before, written and released last February. So, in my opinion, it's a good way of introducing your presentation and your contribution to this panel, starting with Anna Gregorio. Please feel free to start.
Thank you, Marta. Thank you, all of you. Thank you, the Switzerland organization. Perfect as usual. And it's an honor to be here representing the.
Yes.
Yeah, it's an honor to be here representing the Free Italian Industrial Association in the space field, namely IAD, IPAS, and ASAS. And it's an honor to be here with you, Switzerland. So let me give you a few numbers about the space industry in Italy. We have about 200 companies. Only a few of them are large system integrators, but while we have a large community of small and medium enterprises. So if we look at the numbers, we are referred in Europe after Germany and France in terms of revenues, about 2 billions. And almost the same, we are referred in Europe also as investment. And 70% of that is in export. We have something like 5,000 employees with a steady rate or steady growth of about 3%. And let me add that, and this is particularly important for me, is we have over 60 institutions working in the space field among university entities, research institutions. And this is key for us for what we said up to now, because I think really the so-called technology transfer is a key part of this environment. All of this is the situation up to now, an overview of the situation up to now. We have to highlight, of course, that we, as we all know, we have entered the new space area. This has surely an impact on these numbers. For sure, new companies are coming. Are small companies, start-up, or possibly also spin-off of university and research institutions, which are entering in the space field thanks to the reduction of the barriers which were typical until a few years ago. And a new company, companies which were even stronger in other sectors are now entering the field because of the space is open to new possibilities. So this is a very interesting opportunity, not just for space companies, but for all the industrial field in Italy and possibly also in Switzerland. It's important also to state that the Italian space company is active
both in the upstream and downstream, and is covering all the space value chain. Here you see a nice picture, which is showing the competence of Italian space industry in the principal technology domain, which is ranging from Earth observation, navigation, space transportation, telecommunication, navigation, and also, of course, services, which amount to about 34% of the full budget. Last but not least, we have all the space companies are consolidated experience in all European programs, ESA and EU, but also in the international programs as prime, subcontractor, or even as a coordinator. I put just one slide to leave to the audience, you have the link to the catalog, to the Italian Space Catalog, which is maintained by the Italian Space Agency, and it's a very important tool to search also for capabilities of different companies. And here I have 3 slides, but we'll skip most of them because are just the details of a free Italian association, IAD, which is the largest one with almost 200 members. IPAS with almost 60 members, and ASAS with something like 30 members. Okay, first let me conclude with a key important point, which is the network. The network of all this association, but all these Italian space industry, space companies have been able to create in these years. I remind you that Italy was the 3rd country in the world to launch a satellite. So it's an historical field for Italy, and Italy is really all this free association and the companies are really creating a network, a very good network within Italy, of course. First of all, with Italian Space Agency, of course, and all the ministries, but also within Europe and beyond Europe, with all the association of the other countries, SME for Space and the Europe Space, for example. And of course, with foreign embassies all over the world, let me say. And so, thank you. I just want to say that I was living in Switzerland, so for me it's an honor to be here. And believe me, I know your nature, but I know very well your technology, and it's maybe sometimes a niche, but it's a very peculiar and very innovative niche. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anna Gregorio. You were speaking about technologies, but when I spoke on the phone with Mrs. Elisabetta Ruggi-Grond just to discuss about this conference, I was fascinated by the inspiration and the stories that she told me about how Switzerland got into space since the beginning of the space era. So please feel free to introduce your presentation.
Thank you very much, Marta. Thanks and good evening to everybody, dear ambassador, dear speakers and guests. Yes, it's really an honor for me to be today here for such an important topic. You know, I'm Italian. I have been living and working in Switzerland for 25 years, so collaboration between Italy and Switzerland in space is really going to my heart. Yes, on industrial level, well, a lot has been said, so let's say a few things more. The philosophy of Swiss space policy, mentioned also by Mr. Carpoon, philosophy aimed to develop unique and competitive competence in Switzerland, is a key element to understand how today, in a small country like Switzerland, we have such a large and variegate portfolio of competencies and offerings. So we heard also from the ambassador, Switzerland has been part of the European space from the very beginning, from 1964 with the European Space Research Organization and 1975 with ESA. And in the frame of this multilateral collaboration, Switzerland, together with the other European country, has shaped the space, the European space, and the Swiss industry could develop a wide range of competencies. A wide range of competences that today enable Swiss players to offer services, to offer products in the structure, in the electronics, in the optics, and as well complete instrument. We have seen the complete missions. We have seen the CHEOPS missions and ground equipment. So today in Switzerland we have a large amount of companies, not only big players, but also spin-offs from university, have we mentioned also by Professor Fluckiger. We have a large amount of SMEs, startups, that they are very successful, not only in the institutional environment, in the European space programs, but as well on the commercial space, as well on the non-European markets, and they have as base also the private sector as a customer on their side. So it's a very dynamic and varied environment. And also thanks to this dynamism, there is a push to innovation, a push to introduce some of the innovation that is produced in the Swiss universities in our products and in our offering. So the Swiss space ecosystem in the last 20 years has been growing significantly. The members of the Swiss space industry group have been more than doubled, and today we have about 1,000 employees in the space sector, and it's estimated that there is at least 3 times this number as indirect workplace that are generated by the space ecosystem. And also the revenue have been growing over the years proportionally. So today, Switzerland has a large portfolio of competencies that can offer for the partnership that I have mentioned to the benefit of the stakeholders. And some of the partnership flagship program like VIGA or like Space Rider, this really large program where space industry of Switzerland has played a role with the payload fairing, with the structures, have been already mentioned, but there is much more than that. I can give an example that in our company we are developing products, in particular for optical communication products, and since many, many years we are working together with Italian industries, with Italian partners in a very successful way. So there are the big flagship programs, but there are many, many more activities and collaboration that are taking place between the industries of our 2 countries. So looking at the future, I see that there is a huge opportunities here. President Sakoccia mentioned that cooperation is taking the best from the 2 and from the partners and developing something new. And Switzerland has invested a lot in many technologies in the last years. Italy has huge roadmaps for the space infrastructure of the future. And from this one, we can jointly benefit in several fields. Have been mentioned space transportation, has been mentioned communication, quantum technologies, where we are developing, we are preparing the future with our academia, but also with the products that are supporting the implementation of this. And this is a benefit, this is something that working together in collaboration, we can jointly grow and we can jointly benefit of one each other. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Ruggi-Grond. I would like to go back to Anna Gregorio because you told me a very interesting story, and it was your personal story between research and industry. So how do you become a competitive and reliable industrial player in the space sector based on your own experience?
Well, this is a key question, let me say. Yeah, I have a previous ongoing research activities because I'm coming from the academia. I'm still at the academia, and I really believe the technology transfer is one of the key of the next, of the ongoing space area. Yes, you have to produce, so the innovation shall arrive from the university, shall arrive from a research institution, and then the industry shall be able to put on the market, to arrive on the market with this product, and to really prepare the idea, the innovation, the innovative, let me call it prototype, but to bring on the market the final product. So the link, the university cannot do that, and probably the industry cannot do that by itself. It needs the academia and the research institution to produce something new and innovative for the society, by the way. With new times, I think space is becoming common to all of us. It's not just, as it was until a few years ago, something for the expert in the field. We all have our navigation system on the mobile, but most of the young generation doesn't know it is space technology. Everything is becoming space technology, but shall start from the university, ideally, and then arrived on the market with innovation of the university, but to the industry.
Thank you, Mrs. Gregorio. You were saying produce something innovative for the society, and innovation is the North Star of space industry. Why can we say that this is especially true in Switzerland?
Well, for sure, it's true also for Switzerland.
Yeah.
And, you mentioned before competitiveness.
Yeah.
Very often we associate the competitiveness to price. We say something is competitive, it's a low price. Well, it's more than that, because competitiveness is providing an added value to the customer, of course, for the right price, but it's the added value what has the price. And this is exactly the area where Switzerland has invested. It's true, in Switzerland, Professor Fruchtiger has mentioned, there is a high quality of education, high quality of research, and therefore there has been the stimulus to introduce these innovation generated in the academia into industry. Switzerland is a country with high salaries, we know, so the competitiveness cannot come from the low price alone. It has to come from something more. And the stimulus was exactly this one, to bring innovative solutions, to create these competitive and unique capabilities that can generate an added value for our customer and therefore lead to something more interesting to be offered on the market.
We were speaking about Horizon Europe. From your point of view, what could be the impact on your sector, and what are the risks of competition from other countries?
Well, it's clearly a risk. It has been mentioned that we don't have the same rights today for participation at Horizon Europe. This is a problem because Horizon Europe is a very important vehicle also for industry to develop new technologies, to develop new products. And of course, if we cannot access this one, it's true that partially we can access it. It's not completely forbidden to us, but there are certain areas where we cannot access. This is, of course, reducing the capability to be at the same speed as the others. So it's extremely important for us, also for Swiss space industry, to be able to play on the same ground as everybody else for not losing the competition.
Thank you, Mrs. Ruggigrond. Mrs. Gregorio, what can be done to implement the collaboration between our two countries in the space sector, and what role this alliance could play in the near future?
Well, by definition, I think research and technology is open to collaboration. I come from academia, but I come from very large space mission, which, by the way, had a Swiss contribution. I'm coming from Planck, which had a collaboration. In my field, in particular, in what I was doing, I was collaborating with the Geneva University and also Euclid. You mentioned Euclid mission, and again also the Euclid mission as a participation by Switzerland, by the Swiss. So it's I think there it's almost natural. Then we have to keep this collaboration up to the industry. Of course, there are major companies as Thales, which has a different headquarters in different countries. So in this sense, I think the collaboration is almost natural. But for us, it's a bit more difficult because it's true, especially for SME. It's easy to collaborate within the Italian environment and also with the other countries, but still within small and medium enterprises. It's difficult for an SME to go to Thales and look, we work together. It's a bit odd, of course, but yeah, we are growing, and I think you are not. Also, the big companies are not neglecting anymore. Also, the startups, because sometimes the startups are also doing some research more than larger companies, and this helps maybe the collaboration.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Gregorio. Thank you, Mrs. Ruggigrond, for your contribution. Very interesting subjects, very interesting topics. I wanted to make an applause for all the speakers and for you too. And I was wondering in the last part of our conference if there are questions from the audience for our speakers. I think there's a microphone that can go around. I don't know if there's someone that wants to ask something, some curiosity or something. Otherwise, I have a question in the meanwhile for both President Sacoccia and Dr. Brun, because I was very impressed first time I met. We were speaking about astronauts. I was very impressed first time I met Samantha Cristoforetti in 2014 in the Cosmodrome in Baikonur before she left for her first mission. And she told me at the end of the first interview that she gave me, I wanted to be very precise in the quotation, so I'm going to read it. To make your dreams come true, when you reach a crossroads, always choose the most difficult path, because it is the one that makes us grow. So today in this conference we've been discussed the current evolution and explore possible space synergies and collaboration between Switzerland and Italy. But at the end of this meeting, what message would you leave to the audience of young Europeans who is following us? I would like to start from President Sacoccia.
Thank you. Thank you, Marta. Well, you made me thinking when you said, when you quoted your interview to Samantha, was a different way of a famous sentence that is very close to our heart as we work in the space field, when President Kennedy said we chose to go to the moon not because it's simple, yes, but because it's hard. That's exactly what is at the basis of our everyday work. So I think this should simply remain the same message we pass to you, to next generations. The only way to push the limits is really to take challenges that are, of course, by definition, not simple. But this is the way space activities can really develop further. And the idea to engage in complex project, in complex development is the recipe to advance in the space field and really to push the limits on an environment which has no borders. So it's the only way really to go farther, to explore, to advance, and to get a reward in exchange, which will be, as it was mentioned today, also something that will allow us not to only look up, but also to serve better our planet in the future, which is what we really need.
Thank you. Thank you, President Saccoccia.
Yes. Regarding the challenges, it's always when we talk about competition, it's take the long way home in a sense. It's not take the short way, an easy way. Competition means we have to engage in difficult challenges. Sometimes you hear from industry, but this customer is much easier to access and he's much simpler, but he's maybe not the most competitive one. And when I hear and I listen to our industry, often they say, it's hard in Europe. It's hard to make business in Europe. And there is a reason why it's hard to make business in Europe. It's because Europe is much more competitive than what we usually tend to think, because we hear about commercialization, about how great it is somewhere else. But when we look at the facts, we see that Europe is very competitive in space. And I think this is also a message to you in the audience and to people online is European space, we are at the forefront. We have to remain at the forefront. And this means competition. And this means we have to engage into the long and harder road. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kroon. I don't see anybody that wants to ask the question, so let me extend this question also to Professor Flückiger and Rector Cupertino. So what is your message for young European audience following us today?
Yes. Actually, yes, the message, the quotation of Samantha is something that I like to remember to all my students when they finished, they took finally the degree at the end of the path inside the university, is to remember that kind of emotion, that kind of experience, because when you reach something you have really worked hard to reach, you feel something really special, and I used to wish all of them to have the opportunity to feel again that kind of emotion. That's something that gives us the strength and to go ahead and take new and more challenging objectives. I think that that's something we can you can wish to all the young talents. We have a motto at Politecnico di Bari that is inside our logo that say "De re mi facemmo ali," that say from rose we made wings. That is a piece from Dante, from Inferno. That's something taken from a book from Dante Alighieri, and is a piece in which he's telling a story about Ulysses that is talking with his companions. They are going where no one was ever been before them, and he was saying to them, you have to find inside yourself the strength in order to do that. We will learn together if we can reach or not to the end of our path, but we have to try doing that. I think that motto is what we wish to our students, and I think that could be a message also for all the young talents that are following this meeting today.
Thank you, Rector Cupertino.
I think I'm going to say exactly the same thing that has been already said, but I will choose 3 words. In fact, curiosity first, then risk, and then challenges. I mean, we need really to foster on curiosity-driven research. And that's quite important for young people, just to say there are so many things that need to be discovered since the last research has been done. So curiosity is the first motto I will put forward. And then, yes, challenges. You need to challenge also what have been said before by the scientific community, and also take risk. And on that domain, I must say sometimes that the financing agencies are not putting too much forward this kind of research. Good research, fundamental research is taking risk. And we need also to make this kind of investment into risky research done by young people. Thank you.
Rector Frutiger. Mrs. Gregorio. Yes.
Okay, it's difficult to say something after all this, but let me add just one key word. Let me say, be yourself. Follow your dreams, and if you follow your dream with passion and you believe this can be done, you are convinced you can do it, you will do it. So it's something I say to my students. So just that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Ruggiero.
Well, let me close with something very similar. I would say, dare to dream. Dare to think big. In the reality, in the everyday life, there will be stones on the path, there will be difficulties. But if we want to push frontier, if we want to do something that has not been done, if we want to introduce a technology or to find a way forward that has not been done, we have to think beyond what is today. So let's dream, and we have seen some beautiful picture of a greenhouse on the moon with some plants. Maybe this is still a dream for some other while, but starting with that, then we can make it happening.
Thank you. And thank you very much at the end of this conference to all our speakers, to our audience. I would like to thank Ambassadors of Switzerland to Italy, Monica Schmuski-Gutz, together with the Space Office, the Italian Space Agency, for the invitation to moderate this conference. And many thanks to all of you. Also many thanks to the audience, and please don't go away because the event continues. And you're all invited to join us for an aperitif if you want to go on talking about space and future. Thank you very much.